So here I am at kilometer 982. I'm on my way to drop off the bike for its first 1,000 kilometer maintenance after it's been broken in. I should have about 1,000 kilometers on it when I drop it off, pretty close to anyway. And 980 kilometers later, I still love my bike, which is good news. So I just want to talk a little bit about what I love about it, what I liked about it, a couple of things that I don't like about it. First off, of course, the style of it. It's what I bought it for. Is it's very different styling, different from anything that I've ever driven. Everything I've ever driven has been a Harley kind of style, a cruiser, lowrider, and this doesn't even try to look like that. It's so different with the way that the engine is mounted, sticking out the sides, the way the seat is, the way everything is designed is so different than anything else I've ridden, and its uniqueness still, I'm still drawn to it. It still makes me happy to think about it. Love the color, love the paint job on it. Very, very well done paint job. I'm not seeing any, even after driving it for so long, any flaws in the paint, which I often have in my Yamahas. You see a little bit of a flaw here or there, or a bump in the tank somewhere, but this is this bike has got a lot of attention to detail, and everything is put together very well. Even the seat stitching, everything is perfect. I really like the seat on this, actually. I thought the first thing I'd be ordering is a new seat that's small, just for one person, but I really like the versatility of the size of this seat. I can change my seating position depending on how fast I'm going, and I do that quite often. It makes the rear view mirrors a little ineffective at times when I'm a little more forward. They're not set up, but I mean, what can you do? I may have to set one mirror for a forward seating position and one for a rear a more relaxed seating position. I really like how it handles. It takes the corners as nice as I like them. I'm not a sport rider, so I'm not going around real fast, but it handles my riding style, and that's probably the thing that I like the best about this bike. Is I chose the bike that suits me more than what suits the I guess visual stunningness of the bike. Or I mean, the bike, it looks great, but I like the looks of the Triumph or the Indian better, but this bike is just everything that I want, and it's very intuitive for me to drive. It's light, it accelerates where I want it to accelerate. It suits my driving style so well that I find it just a dream to be on. Very nice to ride, and that's probably the biggest thing I like about it is how intuitive it is for me to ride. Everything, the weight, the center of gravity is right where I want it for what I'm doing. And in traffic like this is unfortunately a lot of where I'm at, and it's very comfortable here for me. I really like the electronics on here. I'm a little bummed out that it doesn't have the multimedia platform included in it. That should be something that they just have on there from the factory, I would think. But the trip computer is something I've never had on a bike, and I'm really enjoying understanding exactly everything that's going on with my bike all the time. Liters per 100 kilometers into the wind, liters per 100 kilometers with the wind. How long did that drive take me? How many kilometers was that drive? How far have I gone so far today? All of this information I'm finding very nice to know and be in tune with my bike and what the machine is doing, and It's something I've never had on a bike before, and I know a lot of newer bikes have it, but I really enjoy having all of those things on here. Very smooth bike to ride. I really like the feel of the engine. It doesn't what I would call vibrate, but there is a lot of movement in there while you're at idle, and when you start it off, it's not like a vibration. Some of the bikes that I've had, it vibrates a lot and it feels good, but it vibrates more like just makes everything look blurry, like your mirrors are vibrating to the point where they're blurry. And this is not as much a vibration as a movement. The bike just moves back and forth, but once you get going like over 20 kilometers, it smooths right out. There's no vibration at all. I don't feel any vibration through the seat. I don't feel any vibrations in the handlebars. My mirrors are nice and steady and clear. It's just such a smooth bike to ride. It's so comfortable, and it's so light, easy to maneuver, that it just makes it so nice to drive. It makes me, you know, that movement, that feeling how much torque there is as you take off. I called it, when I first got it, a friendly little wag. It really makes it a delight to drive, and it makes me happy every time I drive it. And I guess that's the most important thing, is when I jump on this bike. I know I would have at any bike that I called mine, but this bike, and I call it mine, and it makes me happy every time I drive it. So those are the big things that I really like about it. Couple of things I really dislike about it. The headlight, it's just inadequate. The headlight has got to be changed. They've got to have something better than this. You know, it's the most basic thing. I know I look at some of the Triumph headlights and they look so nice. Just you know, some of the LED halo lights, things like that. There's so much better of a job they could have done, and instead they just put a standard old headlight on here. It doesn't look fantastic, and it just certainly doesn't perform even adequately. I seriously dislike the headlight on this. The transmission, I'm finding, it's not as smooth as I'd like. If I compare it to the Kawasaki's was it a Z650 that I rode? That transmission was so smooth and so easy. I could just go through the gears so fast, 2, 3, 4, boom, just like that. This bike, you have to clunk it into 2. You have to take that, you know, make sure you get all the way off that gear, and then click up into 3rd and make sure you get all the way off that gear before you get into 4th. If you're trying to accelerate fast, it's not a real performance transmission that you can make it fast. Now, it feels great, and I know I've heard a lot of people talk about this and how each gear thunks into the gear, and it's very definite and feels great. But I don't know, maybe it's just the throw on the gear shifter that needs to be adjusted, so it's a little bit tighter for me. But I'm just finding that you really have to make a definite shift through that each gear and all the way off the shifter, or you can't go up into the next one. There's a little bit of a gap between 5 and 6 that I find sometimes, and I've never ground gears on a motorcycle before, but on this I find I come sometimes through from 5 to 6, and it just kind of finds this second neutral, and the gears grind a little bit, and as soon as I hear that, I'm on the clutch again right away and go all the way up into 6. But I've never had that issue where I couldn't go all the way up into one gear. It usually slides back down into the other, or you just make it all the way up to the top gear. But that could be something with just the break-in procedure, and once they change all my fluids, everything's going to run a little bit more smooth. But I found this transmission it's not as smooth and responsive as I would like. Of course, that the Z650 Kawasaki was a very responsive transmission. Most of the other bikes weren't even that good, but this one, I'm just not that happy with the transmission on this. The placement of the signal light over here, I have to take my hand down to hit the signal light. It's not right where I'd like it. It should be a little more slender in here to the handlebar, so I'm constantly moving my left hand in order to get that signal light, to hit that switch, and in doing so I flick the other switch for the high beams. So I find I'm turning the high beams on and on and off quite a bit by mistake, and it's just because of the way I have to turn my hand in order to hit the signal light. And you know, that could be just something that I learned to deal with, because it is a different switch. It's oriented different than most of the bikes I've ridden, and that just may take some getting used to. Find the throttle nice and light, nice and easy to hold a speed, though I've not been holding speeds too much because I'm trying to vary my speeds enough to break it in properly. But even I can take my hand and open it right up, and just a little bit of pressure that I have with the weight of my hand keeps the throttle where I want it. It doesn't take a death grip on that throttle in order to open it up or hold it where I want it. Very responsive throttle, really easy to manage. I can get on and get off, open it up, close it down. You know, the engine really is responsive that way. And like I said, I know a lot of engines are that way, but this particular engine responds in exactly the way that I want it to. So this bike is very much, I guess, my bike. It is the right choice for me. It suits my driving style, and it suits my driving needs, and I think that's the best thing I like about it. Is so in tune with what I want and what I need, that it is so easy for me to drive. I don't have to muscle it around. I don't have to work to get this bike to do what I want it to do. It just does what I want it to do all the time, very easily. So here's something that I may want to remember one day about my bike. Driving down Glenmore, turning on to Blackfoot. It's August 13th. It is 3:21 and 22.5 degrees outside. It's a gorgeous day, and I'm just turning on to Blackfoot, and I'm going to cross my 1,000 kilometers, my first 1,000 on my Moto Guzzi. Maybe my first of many Moto Guzzis. Maybe my only Moto Guzzi. Maybe the last bike I ever ride, just because I drive this forever and ever. Don't know. But for this bike, it is 997 kilometers right now, and I'll flip over 1,000 coming down Blackfoot on a gorgeous day in August. It's been raining quite a bit, and the bike is quite dirty because I've driven in quite a bit of rain over the last few days, and I've been more busy riding it than cleaning it. I know my dad doesn't like that. Be like, you got to clean that, you got to polish that up, and I'm like, yeah, or I could go for a ride. So instead I've gone for a ride, and right now it's pretty dirty. I'll take a look at it once we stop, but yeah, it's been ridden more than it's been cleaned for sure. And in my mind, that's better. I like seeing a dirty bike. Same with Jeeps. I like seeing a dirty Jeep because you know somebody's been having a lot of fun on that. You see a nice clean bike and you kind of think, okay, yeah, it looks nice, but did you get to drive it or did you just wash it all day? And something I like about washing a bike, polishing it, it's very therapeutic, feels really nice, but it feels way better to drive it. So my bike today at 1000k, first 1000k, is quite dirty, and I'm pretty pleased with that. I gotta say, I'm not unhappy that it's dirty. One thing I have noticed driving it is because it's air cooled and not doesn't have a radiator, I don't get a blast of hot air as the radiator turns on. When it's cold out, sometimes I rely on that hot air coming off the engine to keep my legs warm, but you don't get it. But it is nice when you're in traffic to not get that blast of hot air while you're sitting at a light. $999. This is my 1000th kilometer. Can see the city today. There's not so much smoke. Come around the corner. I'm going to be almost exactly 1,000 kilometers when I take it in for the servicing. $1,000. There we go. Cross 1,000 on a corner. That's nice. Well, there she is. Like I said, a little bit dirty, but 1,000 kilometers old. And I still love it.